I'm standing here in the rose block. It is the last week of September. This here is a line of Princess Charlene de Monaco roses. As you can see, they're quite vigorous, and they've been producing many blooms for us since May when they started blooming. And they're just getting ready for their last hurrah this season. One more big flush of blooms in the fall. And now would be a good time, or may I say a month ago when we tried to do this, would have been the best time to do a pass through the roses and give them a little love. We don't do a full-on summer pruning for the roses, A, because we don't have time, B, it doesn't seem to be totally necessary, and C, we don't want to open them up to too much direct rays from the sun and get sunburn. But we do want to give them a little attention in the late summer to help usher along that next wave of blooms and maximize that second harvest, that second big flush of blooms. So I'm going to point out kind of what my goals are here, what I see, and where I'm trying to go. I want to encourage the plant to use all of its energy right now into producing new blooms. So one thing I'm going to do is remove spent canes, any part of the plant that is not helping me in my goal of having many roses. That doesn't mean that I'm stripping it down to just rosebuds or just productive canes. I do want to leave a layer of leaf cover to protect the canes from sun. But there is a lot going on in here that's unnecessary and even unhelpful, such as some parts of the plant that are full-on dead, diseased, or damaged, and thus are inviting in disease. Especially the weather is starting to change. We've got moist mornings, cool nights, fog. It's a time that's ripe for disease. So I want to remove any vectors. And then I'm also paying attention to all of these canes that are ending in old spent flowers. Of course, in a perfectly manicured flower farm, you would not see any of these because we would have deadheaded every week, but this is reality. And in the middle of the summer, when the roses become not so productive, they end up getting neglected as we move on to more productive parts of the farm. So coming through now, I'm going to attend to spent canes and dead, diseased, and damaged wood. Let's look first at the dead, diseased, or damaged wood. Okay, so we're going to look at an example of a cane that needs to come out because it's dead. And this is a cut I actually already made, but I'm going to pull it out here and show you why I cut it and what it looks like. So here's where it was before, and if I can remove it, if you look here, up at the top of the branch it was fully dead, and then down here, the parent branch, you can see that the decay was creeping into this otherwise healthy cane. So this is where we need to interrupt it before it spread further. So what I did is I cut well below the infected wood down to what was a fresh, new, healthy, redirected cane here. So here's where the dead wood came off, and I selected to cut to this new healthy cane. The cut I made was close down to the new cane, but not cutting into the collar of the new cane. I'm going to do another cut just like the last one. Same bush, same problem. I'm going to remove some dead wood and cut to a healthy cane, and I'll show you what's going on that cane. So, there's my cut. See here, dead wood up top, and you know, I have a couple seemingly healthy sprouts coming off of that, but I don't want to just cut to this and leave this damaged, dying wood. See all this diseased wood. No, I cut below that to a healthy cane into healthy wood. Okay, so I've cut out my large offenders. Now I'm just going to go through and cut out all the little bits of dead wood using the same concept, cutting into healthy wood. And I just do this first because it's the most obvious thing and it's nice to just kind of get it out of the way. Just kind of looking down systematically up and down the rows. Okay, you get the idea. The next thing I'm going to pay attention to are these spent canes, which if I leave them alone, what do? Not much. Sometimes they're important because they're casting shade on what's below, so I'm going to be strategic about not removing too much. But if the majority of my rows is just little spent branches like this, you know, I'm not doing my job right. So I'm going to go through and just selectively cut some of these back to some more fruitful branch. So here, my cane ends in 3 little buds that were sadly ignored in the height of the season. And I just am going to cut down to a thicker part of the branch. Pencil width or more is the rule of thumb. And I'm going to choose an outward facing bud if I have a good option. So just, boop. Really, it's a glorified deadheading. Instead of cutting up here, I'm just looking for a nice pencil width and a good bud to cut to. So now it ends here in this bud, which is hidden by the leaf. And if our growing conditions are favorable and we don't have an early frost, I may get to experience a nice rose on that cane, whereas before it wasn't going to do much of anything. So using that same concept, kind of going around the bush, I'm going to look for spent bud, thicker cane, little bud, take these out. Same thing, boop, boop, and onward. Okay, now I feel like it should be in like fast forward motion. And you see me going do, 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 do.
Good idea.
And then at the end, we stand back and we're like, okay, that's about the degree that we're gonna do. Not much more than that, because we don't want to overdo it.
Okay. Wish I got to work with you every day all the time. You have a really good feel for the kind of the arc, like a little story. You know, we're doing this, and then, you know, speed it up here.
Okay, so can you do that?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that then.
Yeah, it'd be nice if I could work with you and Oren full-time for a year.
Oh, well, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Why don't you find the funding for that and you sign me up?
Okay. Oh, man.
Am I in the way?
No, you're fine. Because this is going to be sped up.
Yeah.
I'll move to a different position anyhow, though.
Okay, I'm gonna hop over to the other side. But do you need, or do I need to? I mean, I probably should, right?
Yeah, to get a more complete look of
Yeah.
a final.
Okay, I'm gonna hop over then. I have to go around.
Okay.
Almost. Where's my rose? This one? This one. Like that one. Whoops. Okay.
I got a beginner's question.
Mm-hmm.
There's that new growth coming up here. What's that about?
That's great. That's probably gonna give us a rose pretty soon.
Oh. And I see a little bit of that new growth, but was it because it got cut early?
It probably got harvested. It was probably like whenever we harvested that rose was the right timing to throw up a shoot.
Okay.
You know, because these roses have largely been ignored for the last few months. And, but we selectively would cut here and there when something was maybe ornate.
Yeah.
So just to point out something here in regards to the timing of your rose care. There's a branch here that you can see is new. I can tell because of the color of the cane. It's reddish. That means it's growing fast. It's actively growing quickly right now. And it comes back to here, this little, so I'll move this leaf. But this cut here, this was likely a rose that I harvested a month ago. And as I said, the roses have been largely neglected during the height of the season because they slow down to the degree that it's not often worth our time to be over here harvesting. But we do harvest selectively, maybe for an event or a special order or what have you. And so I've come through here and cut various roses at times. This was probably a harvested rose, which ended up being a beautiful summer grooming cut. And this was the growth response. So if we had had time to come in here a month or so ago and do this treatment to the rose then, I would guess that a lot more of the rose block would look like this right now, which would be better timing for our fall harvest. So I'd probably walk away at this point. This is good enough. And we want to be careful not to confuse a late summer rose grooming with winter pruning. We're not worrying about the overall structure. We're not being too heavy-handed. The sun is still very intense, and who's got time for that much cutting anyway? So it's not perfect. There's still some spent buds throughout here. It's fine. Time to walk away and move on. There are many more ahead of us that need our attention.